guys, welcome back. All right, we're up to the scrunchie. I chose a scrunchie because it's made out of material, has lots of folds in it, and once you understand how to do the folds, it makes everything so much easier. So here's one that I've done. I've done a lot of them, and in fact, this is the scrunchie that I drew, this one, and I just felt it was like really easy to use one and you look at it. So I don't know what it was folded into that day, what direction it was folded into, but this is the actual scrunchie that I drew. So we're going to be doing this, but I want to show you some things about material that is going to make this a lot easier for you. And for this, right in the middle of things, I received this book from Colorit, colorit.com, and that's their new Fashion Through the Ages book. It could not have come at a better time because I really needed a good book to show the draping of material. So we're going to look at it. I'm going to use it now to show you the folds in material because they did such a fantastic job. This is available on Colorit.com, and it's also available in Amazon. I know they sell a lot of their things on Amazon. I'll have to look, but I'll leave the link to Colorit below. And their books always start with their belong tos. And then they have a blotter page for you to tear out and put underneath if you're using markers or something. And that comes standard in their books. We're going to take a look at the bottom part of the dress. Now, I am no fashionista, and nobody would ever accuse me of that. I'm a hippie, and I wear jeans and tie-dye t-shirts all the time. Forgive me if I don't know what a bias is and all these different terms. Here we have a quilted background and I guess a pleated skirt, probably from the 1800s. Now, when you look at material, you're going to first begin, like if I was starting this picture, and I'm going to show you. Okay, so now you have the bottom of the skirt. You're always going to look to the bottom first, no matter what material that you're doing. The key to whether something is drawn going in or out is always going to be from the bottom. What you never want to see or draw is, say, a skirt that has a straight bottom. That would be really boring. When you're correctly drawing material, you need these folds at the edges to be able to guide you. Whatever, of course, is in would be darker. Okay, that's simple. So the first thing I usually do is mark a couple of them that I know are going in, because later on, once you get the material going, it gets a little bit confusing if you don't have your tones completely right yet. Another thing about material is the effect of the material folding comes at the end. You're going to be doing folds in the material and it's not going to look right. And then all of a sudden, it's going to look right. It's just the way it is. It has a very long, ugly period in there. So I have an area going in and I'm doing it dark. I have an area over here that's darker, and it goes in over here, right in here. That would make this fold right here going in dark. Whenever you have a fold that's going in, there has to be an accompanying one coming out. This area right here is always going to be your lightest area, and the area right next to it is going to be your darkest. It's something that you can rely on. Over here would be dark. Over here would have your highlight right next to it. So white always sits next to the color. Now, even as you're seeing me put together some of this, now on here, This is dark. This comes out, but then folds in. So right underneath is dark. And if you start looking at this going in, you can actually see, well, yeah, this would have the highlight. Just like we were doing the ball or the cherry, there was one area that hits the light first. That's your bright spot. Now, you don't have to have material that's shiny. That would be a highlight. Just like when we were doing the cherry and the grape, you have something called the center light. Your center light is your highest point. The center light of the area right here would be right there. So you always have to think about where would your center light be. So I would have this being my dark. Right in here would be dark. Okay, this would be your center light. Always next to the darkest area, you have a center light. So we'll just put that in as a light color. Now, see how this goes around and then down? That's telling me this area in here has a little bit of a fold going in. So I'm going to do that area slightly darker. Now, it's not as dark as the fold, but it gets to be a little bit darker. And it blends up until you have the lightest of your colors. And then you would have it going into a darker area. Now, I would call this little divot, the area, your mid-tone. Then you see how it's starting to come up again, and you can kind of tell when you're watching it over here and over here. Your color, as it comes out of that dip, is going to go back to your lighter color. As it rounds out, now you're over here. What do I see? Well, I see this little area over here. I'm going to have to figure out what it's doing. It's folding over this. So right in here. So you have light, dark, it's going light again, all the way up to the point where it's going to get dark. Now, what is that dark called? Your occlusive shadow. Okay? And what would I have right next to it? Because it's the darkest, you would go to your lightest. See, this is a line that you can pay attention to or you don't. I'm going to pretend this is just an area coming out. Later on, you can fix your tones so that it looks a little bit more natural. It doesn't have to look straight. We'll get to that part. We're just figuring out now what the skirt is doing. And that's why I said that it really comes through at the end when you put like details in it. Okay, then we have the lightest. This is now tucking in. This is going in, up and in. Now, it can also, depending on your eyes, be going in the other direction, depending on how you want to do it. But for me, this little divot that goes in matches up with like this. Right next to the lightest line, you're going to have your darkest. And it's going in. And it's starting to come back up on this side. I'm going to have a dark under this because this is folding onto it. And my light is going to go to it. So we're going to concentrate on this area right here. And I'm going to blend it up. Make sure I have my center light. Right here is another center light object. And then just make sure it's all blended. Okay, so that's how I would do this type of material. And I'm going to show you some other things. So that's how you do the pleat. In, out, in and out with your colors. Keeping that light next to your dark. Now, if you want to make this material shiny, you could put a highlight on it. And see how that makes it pop? And then whenever you're using Posca, you always have to wait for it to dry and then shape it. And there you go. So now we have one area going in and out. The second thing you can always do is take your electric eraser. You can always do a highlight in the exact spot as you want it. And you'll get it with the electric eraser. So that's how to do the pleat. Now let's work on something else. Okay, so now we have our gypsy. And she's got something stretched across her waist. You're going to handle this the same exact way. I just saw this. I was looking for something else. Decide where your darkest areas are going to be. Let's get this pencil. Now, you have to handle it going all the way out. This is going to go all the way out to there. You want it to be in the shape of a triangle. But as it comes out here, you're going to taper your fold with the gradient going this way. So here we have it going across the hip. Your center light for this thing would be right around in this area. As it goes across, Let me just get it to that point. Gonna make sure this comes out like a triangle. It's gonna wrap around the hip smoothly. So over on the edges in here, it's gonna become darker. Blend everything up nice and easy. Now I want to see where the center light on the hip is, and that would be right in this area because she's kind of pushing that leg out. So my center light would be right in here. And you want to make sure you have a center light. And then you follow the folds. Now this line is going this way, means this is folding over, and this is slightly folding that way. I would have a highlight right next to it. Now, the way it worked out was there was a fold right in there, and if I darken up right in here and in here, I automatically know this color right here is going to be my midtone. And right in the center of it, right there, would be white. So if you keep working at it, that'll look very realistic. Just takes time. Keep darkening those edges. Now, this is a good picture to show it to you. The bodice, the bust area. You always want it to be, well, round, which means darken the edges, and you try to get it even. But you can follow the line of the outfit. Right underneath the dress, underneath the breasts, to make them look poofy, you want dark. Handle these like balls, I guess. You're going to have dark. Now, like on the grapes or on the cherries, you're going to have your terminator line going across the breast, right at the nipple line, where the breasts start to turn down. And then everything above the terminator line is going to be lighter. That's why I waited to do the dress at the end, well, of the course. I waited for the clothing because now you understand that you have your terminator line, and that makes your the breasts look poofier. So this is why I chose the scrunchie, because there's a lot of folds go in, out, up, and down. So let's take a look at the one that I did. I've got dark, light, this is on top of this, so this is lighter. This area over here is darker than this, so my light would be on the top. This is on top of this, my light would be right here. You see how it's starting to even pop more? Now, I already put in my light. This is on top of this. So right in here would be darker. Right in here would be dark. And here would be my center light. And that makes it pop out. You're going to do that going all around. How I suggest you to do it is straight. Move the paper as you go around, just like this. It helps you keep in control. Not all material, sometimes you'll have divots in there, and you can just do that by adding the lights and the darks in the little areas. So over here, I wanted to fold a little bit more, so I darkened up the area here very softly. And it usually folds in the shape of a triangle. Okay? Now, with the scrunchie, when you're doing this, remember the scrunchie is sort of rounded. So, of course, in here is all, you see all in there is dark. All of that in here will be shadowed. So at this point, you should be thinking of your lighting as coming from all directions, and always look at the shape of the object. If the shape of the object is round, you always know your edges have to be darker. Now we did the hole, which is another reason why I taught you that way back. And now, when we were shading the hole, you know that anything that's on the inside is going to have less light, so it's going to be darker. And see how this is now taking on a three-dimensional form? Not only is it folding over each other, but it's also creating that dome area. So those are things and areas that would be darker because they're underneath. I have a little area in here that's darker. Over here, I have material that completely folds on top. It folded like this. It completely went over. You just have to make sure that that area underneath is darker. And it's even going to shadow a little bit. Make sure your whites stay white at the top, because wherever you have a dark, you have a light. But it also curves. So right at the edge here, instead of it being light, you're going to have it like probably your mid-tone color. Okay, it does take a little bit of practice. It may take you 2 or 3 times to get it right and get it looking the way you want it to look. My biggest suggestion to you is just jump in there and do it. If you screw it up, big deal. That's why I gave you 4, and make plenty of copies. Now, if you don't have your paperwork for this course, This is the intermediary blending, color blending course. You can get it in my Etsy shop. We are on the scrunchie, which is towards the end of the course. Start from the beginning. Don't jump in and try to do the scrunchie. The course is designed to take you from skill to skill to skill to skill. We did the whole way back at the beginning. The videos are up. You can find the videos for this course in the playlist. If you go to the main portion of my channel, like my main channel page, look at the top, push the button that says playlists, and you'll see an intermediary color blending. If you have any questions, I'm available to you via email. My email is in the description box below. There'll be a link to the paperwork in the description box below. And you can get me or one of my moderators, who are all fantastic artists. They all know what they're doing. They all can answer your questions. I will see you in the next class. Take care.